And make sure your phone is on silent.
Yeah, my phone is on silent. Oh wait, I gotta do something just for Macy, just in case she's watching right now.
Is she gonna watch?
I don't know. The last time we did this, like when we did it last week with Alex, like right before we started doing the show, we were already live, and I cracked my knuckles, and I saw her that night, and she said, "Yeah, I was watching up until you cracked your knuckles right into the microphone, and I had to stop." So that was just for her. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Muhammad, I am Matt, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. First and foremost, we must thank Low Tide Kava Bar for the kava we will be drinking on today's show. So thank you to Sean Simpson and all of you at Low Tide.
And Justin.
And Justin. Always thank you to Justin. Shells up. Bullet.
Bullet.
I forgot to share our video today.
You could share it.
Mm-hmm. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing all right. Yeah. I went to go see 3 movies in the last week.
T2 Trainspotting.
Yeah, T2 Trainspotting, which if you want to just have a pit put into the middle of your stomach, you should definitely watch that. Because
why does it put a pin in your stomach?
I
saw you post about it, so I knew that was one of the movies.
Oh yeah, no, I walked out of that movie wondering where I had failed in my life.
Why?
I don't know. It was just like, man, what have I done wrong? Why am I still here? Why have I not made more of myself? Like, it hit me hard.
Okay, well, okay, I don't know, man. So what's the movie about?
Okay, well, did you ever see the movie Trainspotting?
No.
Okay, well, Trainspotting is about a bunch of heroin addicts in Scotland.
Okay.
And it's about them, just their lives and all the stuff that they do. And, you know, they're like, oh, we're going to get off heroin. And then they get back on heroin and all that kind of stuff. I'm not even going to put it on. I'm just going to post it. It goes through their entire lives and them trying to better themselves and then not bettering themselves, and how it's kind of always how the drugs bring you back in.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that movie, you're like given like this small glimpse of hope that, you know, things get better. And then they made this movie, which is 20 years after the first one, and none of their lives are better. And it's just, I was watching that movie and I just felt awful throughout the entire thing. Because not all of it correlates with my life, obviously, but there were many parts of it where, like, when I watched the first one back in the 90s, I remember thinking, I definitely don't want that to happen to my life. But then throughout, you know, all of my drug use and alcoholism and everything else, a lot of that was happening in my life. And so then I watched this one, and I was able to draw parallels between myself, I almost said my character, my actual self, and Ewan McGregor's character. And like, I just got out of that movie and I felt like I had not succeeded at all in life. But then later I was reading an interview from one of one of the other actors in the movie, Robert Carlyle, and he said when we made this movie, when we were done, the point of it we realized was that a lot of people were going to be leaving the theater saying, "What the fuck did I do with my life?"
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "Wow, you guys just nailed it.
Yeah,
nice job. If that was your goal, you crushed it." Because that's how I left feeling after that movie.
I want to try something new, man.
Okay.
I do want to see the browser while we're doing this.
You want? Oh man, you want us to look at ourselves?
No, it's to see. We can handle it. It's just in case anyone's talking to us. I do want to see any commentary that may show up.
Okay.
Which, for whatever reason, it says 2 comments right there, but we don't see the comments for some reason. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Are those socks on your microphone? Yes, it is, Wally.
Yes.
Brian,
yes, Brian
was a defense contractor with me when I was in Kuwait. I was just wondering the same thing. There's no reason to buy the foam yet. I mean, we will one day. I mean, I can afford to buy them. They're like, I don't know, I think like $10 each, but socks work. And the guy that knows a lot about these equipment says socks work well enough. So I decided we're going to stick with the socks as long as humanly possible before we move on to the better equipment
Yeah.
and foam.
Right. We're just being economically feasible.
Hey, Brian. Yeah.
We're being fiscally responsible.
Yeah, we are.
Like the good libertarians that we are.
Brian would disagree because he thinks we are selfish, greedy bastards. But I still love Brian.
Well, you know. You were going to make this episode so hard on me because I know that I am right there.
Well, don't look at it. I'll read it because I want to read it in case anybody says anything. Brian and I used to actually argue on the bus when we first met. I think Brian wasn't training with me when we first got to Kuwait with Triple Canopy. And I think from when we met and started talking politics, we realized we were both different. So we had been arguing politics ever since I met him in 2013.
Right.
But yeah, the word is frugal. My accent came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went to go see the movie Free Fire.
Okay, I don't know, what's that one about?
Okay, so that one is about a gun deal, an illegal gun operation. I think like the IRA is buying guns from the South African, and
That's not real, right? Because it makes no sense to me.
No, it's a movie.
Okay. Well, it could be based on real events, and I was like, why would they go all the way down there? But
well, no, I think it takes place in America.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, it takes place in America, and an Irish guy buying weapons from a South African guy, and something happens in it, and the entire thing turns into a shootout for an hour and 45 minutes, and it's hilarious and violent, and it was a fun movie.
That's good.
Yeah.
And your third movie?
The third movie was, what was that movie? I was with Justin to see that movie. I don't remember what movie that was, but I remember liking it.
Oh, I was going to say, I guess it wasn't that good then.
No, I remember liking it. I don't remember what the movie was, though.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know what else. I was going to go see a movie this week by myself, and I didn't see anything that popped out. And it was a work week, so I wasn't going to go out at night. That's when I prefer to go to movies. So I didn't really go see anything, but I think there's still a lot of movies out there I haven't seen that are still in the theaters. Like the one that, I forget his actual name. Key is the producer of, I guess, or the writer. Get Out. Yeah, I guess Get Out is still in the theaters.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it's in some theaters. That movie was really good.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. But yeah, it was actually a pretty boring week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no stuff. So, I guess we should just get into it.
Yeah.
All right.
It was it was the most boring week out of all.
I know.
Well, I really didn't do shit, so there's really nothing to talk about.
Right, yeah.
I had a hard time at work, so... This whole week fucking sucked at work.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What
every
happened?
fucking day was bad on its own on top of the bad week. Progressive liberals agree. Live Fire, was that the one you were just talking about? The second one? Live Fire?
No, Free Fire.
Free Fire, Brian. And thank you. There were pretty good political arguments until we both left Kuwait and had to do this on Facebook. And then they just got real boring. Because we're both hiding behind our computer screens and keyboard warrioring at each other.
Like a good libertarian, you're being a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. But yeah, no, nothing specific. It was just a pretty stupid week altogether. But then, I don't know. It ended okay, so that's all that matters.
Right.
I'm still alive.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
But not as good as Trump's first 100 days. Perfect segue into our first topic. Yeah, not the best first 100 days, although I was recently told by my co-host that... Shots fired. I've been recently told by my co-host that it is the second highest amount of executive orders signed.
No, it was the most amount of legislation passed since Truman.
So, as in Congress.
Yeah, he passed 23 bills, technically.
That's okay. That's actually pretty good. That's not really.
Yeah,
That's not as much Trump as it is the Republicans winning a bunch of seats, but that's cool. Okay.
Well,
I don't know. I can't remember all the big bills, but yeah.
Right. Well, most of it, the majority of them were, I can't remember the term for it right now, but they were just undoing things was the majority of it. It was just they were undoing certain parts of Obamacare and overturning certain parts of the Obama administration. And then there was a bill to let generals who weren't retired for 7 years be in the cabinet.
Okay, makes sense.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think I saw that net neutrality also was on the chopping block.
Yes, it is on the chopping block. I don't believe it's passed yet.
No, not yet. No.
But it is on there. But as we were talking about the other day, the first 100 days, and Trump did tweet about this. He did say that the first 100 days is a silly benchmark. He said that it's stupid. And
I do think it's a silly benchmark. He's got 4 years to do what he needs to, in my opinion.
Right. And the first 100 days...
well, really first 3, because the last one you kind of get into campaign mode.
Yeah, unless you're not going to run again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first 100 days it wasn't even a thing.
Well, let me make a comment about what you just said. Unless he's not going to run again. He was interviewed, I think, with CBS, and he said, I didn't think it was going to be this hard.
Yeah.
You read that?
Yeah, he said that this was a lot more difficult than he thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I was like, well, no shit. No shit. You're running the president.
Right. You're running a nation.
Yeah. Says he misses his previous life of leisure and not being watched. I guess it's more the control, not being watched so much by the Secret Service and having to do something all the time. If he doesn't like it, he can just choose not to run. That kind of opens up better Republican to hopefully beat whatever the next choice is going to be for the Democrats, which might be somebody that would beat him if he ran again, if it's Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who if I were placing bets today, that would be where my money is. It's Tulsi Gabbard in 2020.
Yeah. Personally, so far, I haven't seen anything too inspiring from Trump's first 100 days, anyways.
No, but I mean, the first 100 days, in all fairness, the first 100 days don't matter. The only reason that people use it as a benchmark is because of FDR.
Okay.
And when FDR became president in 1933, he did so much in his first 100 days that people were like, this is the new benchmark. Like, we need to make sure people are doing, that our presidents are doing a lot in the first 100 days.
Yeah, and then they can take a break, right?
No. But
that was a progressive era. Like,
that was a huge progressive
Democrats and Republicans were both really progressive at the time.
Right, and they were just passing everything back then.
Yeah.
There was even a story I heard this week. About back then, a bill was being written.
Sorry. Brian Schaefer said this in a conversation with Reuters. Is that the second time someone said that?
This is why I didn't want that up.
But I like reading it.
But yeah, during see, you made me lose my place. They knew a bill was coming down, but it hadn't been written yet. So Congress passed a rolled-up newspaper because they knew the bill was going to be good, even though it hadn't been written yet.
Oh, okay.
So, like, right now, the first 100 days, like, if somebody's getting a lot done in the first 100 days, odds are they're going outside of Congress and they're executive order or whatever, and they're basically acting as emperor-in-chief as opposed to following the Constitution. That's why the first 100 days really, in my mind, doesn't matter. Because if you don't have a very active first 100 days, personally, I think it's because you either have a combative or an ineffective Congress, kind of like what we have right now. You have a president who cares about the Constitution.
Well, it's not combative. We have the majorities as Republicans.
I don't think we have a combative Congress. I think we have an ineffective Congress.
No, we just have the House Freedom Caucus that's cock-blocking a lot of his bills.
Or you have Paul Ryan, who's not passing bills that the people that voted him in want.
Okay, I guess that works too.
Right. So I mean, it really just depends on which way you look at it, which is why I look at it more as an effective Congress, not a combative one. But there have been times in history where a combative Congress went past what the president wants.
Of course.
So,
and I think that's going to be a theme from now on, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Every time you have one party controlling the executive and one party controlling the legislative, it's always going to happen like that.
Right. You have a president who's willing to follow the letter of the law of the Constitution, which he don't, obviously.
Yeah.
Or we just basically have an ineffective president, which I'm still not 100% on. Like, I don't think he's very effective, but I don't think he's an ineffective president. But it's only been 100 days.
I don't think the partisanship in Washington is combative, Brian. I think the House Freedom Caucus, which is the liberty wing of the Republican Party, I guess is the combative part, but they're not really partisan. They're just philosophically different than the rest of the Republicans. And they're going to be doing whatever they need to make sure that liberty is at the forefront of any type of bill that's going to be passed or put forward. So that's really my point of view on that. I don't think it's that combative, in my opinion. And I guess the first 100 days benchmark thing is kind of silly too. It might even force these presidents to act a little bit irrationally to kind of try to ram things through and show how active they can be in these first 100 days.
Right.
A little silly.
Right. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It just seems like you're just going to start force-feeding bills and just forcing them through, and if bills aren't working, you're just going to executive order it just so you can say, look at what I've done in the first 100 days.
Like the travel ban.
Right.
When the very first travel ban portion was, or executive order was signed in, it had a lot of very unfair parts of it that ended up being rescinded because of how stupid they were, like with green card holders, for example, that were overseas already, but they're already green card holders, so it's like they didn't even think through what they were doing. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
Right. So that's why the first 100 days is a pointless benchmark that doesn't even really matter, and all it does is help perpetuate an elected monarch.
So what do you think overall about his first 100 days? I guess our first 100 days, I guess, since he got elected.
I don't think it was too different from the last 100 days of the last guy.
Yeah, I really don't either. Aside from he seems to be a bit more war hawkish towards Iran, Syria, and definitely North Korea. It still seems like business is business up in Washington.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, in his first 100 days, he's come out and he's said that healthcare is more complicated than we thought, which means he's probably not going to be able to repeal Obamacare, like you said. He said that what do you want? He wanted to classify China as a currency manipulator,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's backed off of that. NATO is not as. He's saying that NATO is not as useless as he said it was.
Which makes me want to ask how he came to that conclusion.
Right, exactly. And
nothing really happened involving NATO that would bring me to that conclusion, to be honest, but okay.
And then he's gone on to say, during the campaign, he was a nationalist. And now he came out in an interview with the Wall Street Journal this week, and he said, I'm a nationalist and a globalist. It's up to me to make that decision. Believe me.
I believe you.
You're right. It is up to you to make that decision, but you have to make it. You can't be both.
No, you can't. You're either a nationalist or a globalist.
Right. Like, yes, you are right. We do have to believe you that you have to make that decision, but you have to actually make that decision.
Yeah. I really do wonder how some of his biggest fans reacted to some of this. I didn't see many of it conversation-wise on my Facebook, but I'm sure many people were butthurt about him saying that.
Right.
Unless they do the typical hardcore Trump supporter thing where they say, well, he's playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything the guy says or does is playing the game, but we also have to believe him. It makes no sense. I voted for Trump because I believe what he says. He says what's on his mind. You know?
Right.
Shit makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Just because Bernie Sanders said what's on his mind, but doesn't mean I was going to vote for him.
That's very true. Which, Bernie Sanders, oh my God. I saw an interview with him saying, I don't know, maybe he could have won if it was him against Trump, but I think it would be silly to act like the Republicans didn't have anything on Bernie they could have thrown at him.
I think they did.
Of course they did.
Yeah, I think they absolutely must have.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
You don't fire all your bullets right away.
No.
So considering he wasn't even in the running, they wouldn't have used any of it. Like, for example, the footage. Imagine them just playing the footage of him saying that people standing in bread lines was a good thing, if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So, that's just one of probably many things they could have used against him.
The deodorant thing could have been used against him.
Yeah. So, there's a bunch. I don't know. He probably, considering how, I don't know. The Libertarians got a little bit more votes this last elections. I don't know anything about the Green Party numbers, but I don't know if it was enough. And I don't know if enough of those people were Bernie people voting for those two sides that brought him out.
Oh, so like the people that would have voted for Bernie if he had gotten the Democratic?
Yeah, so instead of voting Hillary, they just came to the LP or the Green Party for that election.
I think that had that been spread out across the entire country, it may have done it, but I'm betting that many of them were in the states that Hillary already won.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it just would have been a popular vote versus electoral vote. Again.
Yeah, again.
Again.
But so I guess the biggest thing I see different from with Trump is his hardcore war stance recently compared to Obama, at least on new fronts, like trying to get us more involved with Korea, definitely Syria, Yemen. He sent in a team of Navy SEALs. He's cozying up to President Sisi of Egypt, which doesn't really look good for us, in my opinion. It can, but in my opinion, at the end of the day, it doesn't for people watching us from the outside. Um, it's the whole, people say, well, it's our national interests. And you can only use that excuse so far. And you can use it really as long as you want, but also as long as you realize that you're okay with the typical Middle Easterner, or even people outside the Middle East, but definitely Middle Easterners looking at the United States as a country, as culturally, as the West, as a democracy, as these self-assigned protectors of the world, and that they get to do whatever they want in the Middle East. That's why it doesn't look good for us, and that's why I always disagree with that type of rhetoric, because I hear what my parents say when when they're watching satellite television, watching Arabic media from family overseas. The question always comes up of why is America always getting involved in the Middle East? Why are they allowed to do this? Blah 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 blah, and that just doesn't look good on us. And that's one of the things that would end up influencing blowback.
Right.
But other than that, I don't see much of anything really that I would consider amazing out of Trump in the first 100 years.
100 days.
100 years.
100,
yeah, why not?
I mean, in his first 100 years, I'm certain, he's done some pretty impressive things in his first 100 years.
I would hope so. Win World War III, I don't know.
Right.
And 4. That one will be fought by sticks and stones.
Isn't there a Cards Against Humanity card? It's like, World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons. World War IV will be fought with, and then everybody throws down their cards.
I think so, but the quote, I think, is originally Albert Einstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is a real quote.
Yeah. I know it from Cards Against Humanity because I used to play it.
Yeah. It's a good game. No, that was because he saw what nuclear weapons were going to do, and he says, hey, if the whole world blows itself up in World War III, that's what the next one's going to be, sticks and stones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But speaking of World War III...
Yeah, World War III.
Speaking of World War III, the Brinksmanship in North Korea continues to escalate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And North Korea yesterday, Friday, for those of you not listening on Saturday, the North Koreans tested another missile.
Yeah.
Which, once again, fizzled out miserably. So they had another failed missile test. We moved another warship up into the Japan Sea, I believe.
Sea of Japan. Yeah.
Sea of Japan, yeah, up into the Korean Peninsula. And at this point, I don't really see how this doesn't turn around. I don't see this just fizzling out. I
don't. I mean, but that's what brinksmanship is. It's people up in the ante vocally until one person backs down. And if nobody backs down and one person takes it too far or one person misinterprets what the other person is saying, then they'll attack. So it's really the same end game. Right. If brinksmanship fails, there's going to be war. And no, I don't see that happening either. We're already 100 days into this thing, and he's already lobbed Tomahawk cruise missiles, sent a Navy SEAL team in, and sending our Navy sailors in their boats all around the Pacific, and some people are hailing this as a good thing, but I don't even understand that portion because, and I guess I've made this argument a few times now. Why is it okay for us to be in other people's spheres of influence when the Soviet Union put nuclear missiles in Cuba, in our sphere of influence, in a communist country? We reacted swiftly right away because that's not really the right thing to do. This is our area, stay out of it. Why is it okay for us to throw up all these bases around all of these countries, as in Iran, Russia, North Korea, etc., etc.? Why is it okay for us to do this and put them on their heels, putting our boats all around them, and act surprised when they want to show what kind of strength they have to deal with us? We're encouraging it.
Right, which, I mean, I know the argument on why it's okay. I don't agree with the argument, but I know the argument. And the argument is, somebody needs to be the police of the world. Something, I don't even like to say that.
It's in the Bible.
Right. I don't even like to say that we like to be the police of the world. I like to say we like to be the babysitters of the world because, it's like, oh, we're watching over everything. We're going to make sure it's okay. And if you're not doing okay, we're going to make you sit in a corner. Mm-hmm. And if you act up too much, that's when we're going to start spanking. But we, somebody needs to be the babysitter of the world. Somebody needs to, keep an eye on all the kids. And who's going to do it if we don't do it? And I'm like, why should anybody do it? Like, and that goes back to the Syrian thing of they use chemical weapons on their people. And just like you said, you're only mad about the chemical weapons because of the way that the
people died.
Yeah, the way that the people died. And if they used a regular bomb, apparently you're totally fine with it. But because it was a chemical weapon...
Yeah, you can line up 60 people and shoot them in the head. You can put them all in one place and drop a bomb or blow up a bomb that's under them. That's nothing. But once you use a chemical weapon, it's... Yeah.
Right.
They saw a video and they got mad.
Exactly.
Kind of like the Muslims do. Seriously. It's really funny how these parallels kind of show up with violent people around the world.
Right.
I saw a video I didn't like. Well, let me go kill somebody.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
No. So, like, I don't get the argument. I don't understand the argument. I just know the argument of that's what they think. They're just like, oh, well, we need to babysit the world. And if we don't do it, who's going to? And we don't need to be the babysitters of the world. We need to be the babysitters of America. Like, we just need to watch out here and make sure everything's good here. Like, there are so many issues going on here that we need to solve as opposed to going outward. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, like, North Korea, like, the UN is looking to China to be the moderators here, and China is basically saying, this isn't on us. Like, both these sides need to back down. And if neither one of them do, this is just going to grow stronger and worse. And Japan's going to Russia and asking them for help. And this is just going to continue to...
Let Russia do it.
Right. Right. But the only reason Japan's going to Russia is because of the Brinksmanship that's escalating, and they're saying, we're going to need backup here, so hey, Putin, come here. We need your help. And China's at the UN, saying, hang on a second, I got written down, the responsibility does not lie with them. So, let Kim Jong-un be little crazy Kim Jong-un and, threaten to blast missiles, none of which have worked. And there's never been evidence that he can do it. And I know he said that he wants to do a missile test once a week, but they don't have the money for that. Where are they getting the money for that?
Exactly, yeah, we're the ones feeding them.
Right. And I mean, granted, back in the 90s, his dad, Kim Jong-il, let 1 million people starve because they didn't have food. And he said he denied taking food from the UN because, as he said, once they figure out they can get food not from the government, they'll realize they don't need anything else from the government. If he just keeps shooting off missiles, eventually they're going to realize that this is costing them their food. Mm-hmm. And they will have to either stand up and attack, or North Korea will just be no more.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there won't be anybody there to take over the military.
Yeah. And I always hear the rhetoric of Kim Jong being crazy enough to shoot the missiles at us if he had the capabilities. I just don't see that. I mean, we've always been the country to do something. Nobody else goes around and does what we do. Why are we suddenly doing this mental gymnastics of, well, yeah, he's crazy enough, without any proof, really?
Right.
And it's like, okay, so North Korea supposedly is crazy enough, and then the same goes for the Ayatollahs and Muslims in Iran possibly getting nuclear weapons. And then everybody ignores the fact that India and Pakistan have been in plenty of wars while being armed with nuclear weapons. And no crazy-ass Muslim in Pakistan decided to fire a nuclear bomb into India, especially when you have the Taliban right there that, hey, here's a nuke.
Right.
Go kill the infidels in India.
Right.
Or however they'd want to do it.
I mean, it is mutually assured destruction.
Exactly.
Because once you pull that trigger.
Yeah. The reason everyone's worried is because then they'd have a leg up on defending themselves, which kind of goes into like the Second Amendment argument of we need a gun because the criminals have guns. I'm not calling us as a country criminals, but the whole being armed up to the point what your aggressor may have is going to keep both of you polite or keep the other guy from showing up on your land.
Right.
But yeah, I would sincerely hope that he is really just playing Brinksmanship and then just backs off when the time comes.
Which one?
Trump. This is all in the United States hands.
Okay. Right, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would like to think that Trump will back off if it's proven that. I hope that Trump has the wherewithal to back off when it's shown that North Korea actually can't do anything. It's just like a petulant little child screaming, having a temper tantrum at the mall. Because otherwise, it's going to be bad. Like, for lack of any better or more well thought out response, it's going to be bad. Like, China's going to get involved, Japan's going to be involved, Russia will get involved, and it will just grow.
People are worried about North Korea's conventional artillery. Well, it's artillery. It's right there. I mean, that's the whole point of artillery. If they haven't shot it off yet, there's no reason for them to shoot it off unless they're intimidated. That's the honest way of looking at something like that. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I know. I always read about the massive artillery batteries sitting right there, but if they haven't gone off yet, why would they go off now? No one's intimidating them except for us, And on top of that, the few brigades we have in South Korea won't be able to stand up to anything that comes across those lines once we intimidate them enough. And neither would Japan, probably why they're talking to Russia. Where was I going to go? I lost my train of thought here. Oh no, I don't remember what I was going to say there. It was something involving, I guess, us really being so overstretched, we wouldn't be able to handle that kind of meat shield coming towards us. It's
Right.
Soviet-style tactics.
What
It's not like we won the first Korean War, which is technically still a thing.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's not over.
Yeah, it's not like we won that.
No, I mean,
And we didn't win Vietnam.
No.
Even though some people want to claim we didn't lose or win, which makes no sense because
It's like in
they won.
It's like in Monty Python, where Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where Arthur goes through and he meets up with, I think it's the Black Knight. I haven't seen the movie in so long. And they have a sword duel. And I can't think of what that was. Sword duel. And he ends up cutting off the dude's arm, and then he cuts off like one of his legs, and he's hopping around. And then he cuts off another leg and another arm, and the Black Knight just kind of looks around. Well, let's call it a draw.
Pretty much. But yeah, enough about North Korea.
Right.
Let's talk about the death penalty with Arkansas, and then finish it up with this little thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
So Arkansas killed 4 people in the span of 8 days. 2 of them on the same day because of expiring drugs that they had to use, I guess.
So once the drugs expired, did it not kill them anymore?
It probably does those nasty side effects that people don't like seeing on people that are being killed with lethal injection. Because that's one of the things, they're under investigation right now in Arkansas because one of the inmates that was put to death was seen lurching in pain by the witnesses that were watching the execution. So I would assume that's what that would do. I'm sure it would kill him. Maybe not right away. I mean, I don't like to guess about drugs I don't know about.
Right. And I mean, that's my thing on it is if these drugs expired, does the person not die? Like, you're killing another human being here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Which is the other silly part of that is we're killing you because killing people's bad.
Right.
Because it's different when we do it as a group, but like taxes.
It's different when the state says, you know what, you deserve to die.
Yeah. It really makes no sense. Blackstone's formulation, I don't know if you ever heard it, he says, it's best that 9 guilty go free than to kill 1 innocent life. And that's just really one part of my philosophy. The other part really is as simple as killing people is bad. And it's no different if we do it as a group or not.
Right.
We can just keep them, just keep them for life without parole. That's it. You're locked up away from society forever. Don't make it easy on them by taking them out.
Right. And, I know about, since I was raised a very staunch Republican, not even conservative, just a staunch Republican. I know all these arguments, and I'm like, well, why should we keep these people alive on taxpayer money for the next 40, 50 years?
Yeah.
As opposed to just offing them because they felt it was okay to off, however many people, 1, 2, 3, 9, whatever. And I see that argument. I do. Like, this person took it upon themselves to kill whomever. But at the same time, you're then lowering yourself to that guy's standard.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, it was okay for him to do it, so I guess it's okay for us to do it. And at some point, you have to realize that you need to be above that fray.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. They killed 4 people in 8 days, which is a lot more than usually happens.
Yeah. 4 in 8 days is a lot.
But I will say Democrats and liberals also, I mean, being against the death penalty, sure. A lot more liberals tend to be against capital punishment, but I know enough liberals that are still for killing murderers.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know liberals that are for killing murderers, and I know conservatives
Yep.
that are against it.
There's an organization, if anybody's interested, it's called the Conservatives Concerned About the Death Penalty,
Yep.
and they have a lot of reasons on why. And one of them actually is what you were just talking about, is it actually costs more to kill somebody than to just keep him in prison for life without parole.
Right.
All the court costs, so on and so forth.
Right.
And really, you can reduce that cost by not punishing people for victimless crimes.
True.
You know, that'll get rid of about 80%. Well, yeah, out of the total prison population, 80% of them are in there for victimless crimes, basically using drugs. The rest are in there for destroying property, stealing a large amount, and killing people.
Right.
One of the family members of the victims during when that execution happened said this, and this is quite common. This may not bring closure to our family, but it might help. It might help.
It might help.
It doesn't bring closure because you lost somebody, and you're just angry, and it's just retribution at this point. But once a person gets killed, it doesn't bring that person back. So no, if the finances are the argument here, then we can easily make it easy for us to house all these people. There's not. I mean, hopefully there's not that many murders in the world.
Hoping there's not a lot of people on the death row.
Yeah, we shouldn't be as bad as them when it comes to that.
Now, so here in Florida, we do have the death penalty.
Yeah, we do.
We do have the death penalty, and a couple of years ago, our wonderful state attorney general, the midget Pam Bondi, there was an execution slated, and she postponed the execution because she had a party to go to that night and didn't want to take time out of her day to go to the execution, and ended up staying the execution for, I think it was a month.
She should have kept partying.
Right? Yeah, just keep partying. Now, personally, I think that was a very unfair thing to do to the family of the victim, and an unfair thing to do to the person on death row. And I do get the argument that, yeah, he's on death row, he killed somebody, whatever. Like, fairness doesn't really matter to him. But for her to just be like, oh, well, I really want to go to this fundraising event, so let's not kill him tonight, let's kill him next week. Like, that's unfair to the victim's family, because that's something they're watching.
Yeah.
Like, whether they're looking forward to it, or whether they're looking forward to it, whether they don't want it to happen, whether they do want it to happen.
Yeah, they're holding their breath on it. Yeah.
Right. It's like you're just holding that person. You're just holding that person back from being able to move on a little bit more.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
So, I do think that if the death penalty is a thing,
okay,
if it is a thing, and I'm not for the death penalty,
okay,
but if it is a thing, stuff like that should not happen. Because, okay, if you're the dude on death row, and I'm just guessing that out of the two of us is going to be you. If you're the guy on death row, and you're slated to die on the 30th of April, and so the 29th is here, 30th comes in, and the dude comes in and says, what do you want for your last meal? And you say, hummus, or whatever. And you get your hummus, and then you're like getting all prepped and ready and making peace with your God or whatever. And then they go, oh wait, Pam has something she needs to do. We're gonna hold off.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bit of, like, that's just messing with.
Yeah, it's a mental fuck.
It's a mind fuck. And, still, you're on death row for whatever reason, so a lot of people don't really care about that. But to the victims that are also, the victims' families that are looking forward to it or fighting against it or whatever, to them, that's just like how can you do that to somebody?
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that to us as the victims' families? Not even just us, but to the guy that's in there that's like getting mentally prepared for this, and then you're just gonna like say, nope, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, at least have some consistency in it. Like, it's not around your schedule.
Yeah. I just want to mention something real quick that my buddy Brian said. He says criminal justice equals jobs, reduce prison population by 80%, and then there will be a new recession. How do you square that peg? I don't have the numbers of people that work in the prison system, and obviously anything that would involve the prison system, like making like the cooks, or not even the cooks, making the clothing, transportation, so on and so forth. I don't have the number of the amount of people that would lose those jobs. But that argument, to me, I've heard it before towards other topics like reducing the size of the military or reducing the size of the government. Human capital is just like any other resource. So once you get rid of these jobs, these people now would be free to get a new job somewhere else where they're needed. The next topic that I'm going to quickly talk about is going to be how government forces people to act irrationally. So by having this big overbloated prison system, it forces more people to want to get involved in the prison system by being corrections officers, building new prisons, so on.
Opening private prisons.
Yeah, so on and so forth. Or even and it really works for even state prisons too, and jails. All these people would be free now to go get a new job, start a business of some kind, or go to school or get a trade. That's really what this comes down to. And it's okay for there to be a lull when a sector or an industry or a company fails. Nobody should expect for their job to be there the whole time. Like it's the same argument people were making during the Industrial Revolution. You're making it too easy now to make things. Now you need less people to make this. The cotton gin, Uber. Like there's always a new product. This is technological though. There was a new product or system or something that causes a particular sector or industry to contract in an economy, and they shouldn't expect a job right away. That's as simple as it is. That's reality in my opinion. And I think most people would be able to deal with that. I have. I'm sure this guy has when you moved. Well, never mind. I don't know. I think you moved to Tennessee for something else. But
I moved to Tennessee just to get out of Virginia.
Oh, okay. And if by that logic, Brian, you need this because it's jobs. Well, you can make the argument for creating the departments of digging ditches and the department of filling the ditches. It's a job, but the only important jobs in society are the ones that add value to someone's life. Whether it's a bartender, somebody that puts phone together, somebody that designs a car, somebody that builds a windmill, that's actual value. These overbloated prison systems don't matter to anybody. You're just putting people in prison. And sure, you're giving them money, but I doubt it would cause a recession. And honestly, they have to be able to deal with any sort of thing happening to them. I mean, whole countries have already gotten rid of capital punishment. It's not like they had any sort of big recession because they got rid of it. So
I think he's more talking about getting rid of the victimless crime.
well, yeah.
Right.
But I'm taking it a step up.
Okay.
That's 100% of the prison population gone, and no recession in those countries linked to them abolishing capital punishment.
Right.
Not zero. So let's continue on this topic of government making people act irrationally on the market. Let's see. I've put a few ones on here. So we were able to tie in the death penalty with that, thanks to Brian. Do you think the Department of Digging ditches would pay the same as what an out-of-work lawyer can make? The lawyers should not be a protected group, and it shouldn't matter to them if honestly, man.
Plus, there's also different types of law that they could just go and practice.
True, and hopefully with the economy restructuring and more people buying more businesses or whatever it may be, these lawyers find something else to do. But nobody should have their job protected. Is where I'm trying to go through with this. So there's a few other examples of the government forcing people to act irrationally. One of them being, for example, let's talk about Canada and the Trump tariffs. It's a 20% tariff on Canadian lumber, because this is now a protected, that now American lumber companies are now going to be technically protected. That's how this is a protection group of people, because now you're increasing the prices of buying lumber from Canada compared to buying the lumber here. You're basically putting it up on par. When you put a tariff, you're trying to put it up on par or higher when it comes to the imports, so you can make your domestic lumber cheaper. That's the whole point, or else there's no point to the tariff, really.
But this tariff also was in response to a tariff that Canada put in place on American goods.
Okay, I mean,
right.
I haven't read about that, but
right.
That's always how protection wars work. That's what happened with Smoot-Hawley tariffs during the
right. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that this was done in retaliation of another event.
That just goes to prove to us that tariffs are stupid. The only thing you're doing is making your people poorer.
Right, you're just making trade harder. You're just making goods cost more.
Yeah.
Whether the goods are better or worse.
Yeah. In this case, in this specific case for us, it's going to be lumber. Now we're going to buy more. Now we're going to be pretty much buying more domestic lumber because it's going to be cheaper because of the tariff. But how many less homes is that? And how much less lumber is that now on the market here because of the prices? How many, fences, anything that involves lumber is now going to cost more. So now you're going to have less of it.
Right.
You're contradicting yourselves. Please explain, and I shall respond. Another one is we just read about California, and you tell me about this one.
This week, 2 days ago, the bill for single-payer healthcare in California passed its first committee by a vote of 5-1, where now it's going to move on to the second committee.
6 people?
6 people.
Wow, what?
Well, it's a Senate committee.
Yeah, but California's bigger than us. I thought they'd have more people on their committees.
I don't know how many.
I guess it depends on the state.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. It depends on the state, and it depends on how many people they have in the Senate and whatever. But apparently they've got 6 people in it, according to that vote. But they passed, the first committee passed by 5-1 to pass single-payer health care. It's now moving on to the second to find out how much that's going to cost the state. And a lot of people are saying, of people are fighting it and whatever. A lot of people outside of California are fighting it. And if California wants single-payer healthcare,
I was going to say it's some of our business.
right, I don't care. Like, California can have Massachusetts, like, has Romneycare, which is basically single-payer healthcare. So if they want to do it on a statewide level, go ahead, which is how, personally, I think health insurance should be handled on the state level instead of doing these federal sweeping mandates for the entire nation. So if California wants single-payer, let California have single-payer, but don't expect federal bailouts when your country is bankrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so, like, if Nebraska wants a completely free market system, and you can have as many here as as many health insurance companies here as you want, and increase the amount of competition, and people can start getting the premiums and the policies and whatever that they're looking for, then they can find that there. Where in California, they're like, well, we don't want to have policies or premiums. We just want to go to a doctor and be able to sit down at the doctor and get looked at. And the whole state pays for it, and they vote for it, and they say yes, then okay, well, California can have that. But it doesn't need to be something on a nationwide level. So as people are fighting the California decision just to pass it through the first committee, it has absolutely zero effect on anywhere else in the nation as long as California doesn't look to the federal government to help bail them out when this crashes.
Yeah. Let me see what Brian is saying here. USA shouldn't be babysitter of the world, should be babysitter of the United States. Adding tariffs to soft lumber imports makes American lumber more attractive, means American firms can hire more out of the people coming over from the criminal justice industry. Sure, but everybody is now paying more for lumber too. And that's where the big issue is. Now you have less people using lumber because of that. So, yeah, they get to hire more people to sell lumber, but people are now paying more for whatever may involve lumber, whether it's fencing or houses or building boats to sail the world. That's really my honest opinion on it. Obviously, we prefer free markets here, and the prison industry going down would be a free market solution. Protections are not a free market solution. It never is.
Right.
Thing is, if the United States, I'm sorry, we don't do trade as a country. It's individual people and companies. If the lumber industry in the United States can't compete with other countries, then it doesn't need to exist anymore. The same type of protections exist for the sugar industry today. And because sugar in the United States costs more than it does in most of the world, especially South America, the reason people have corn syrup in their soft drinks is because of protections made for the sugar industry. They weren't able to compete with South America and the Caribbean. And because sugar is now so expensive, they found a substitute. And that substitute good ended up being corn. So there's going to be far-reaching ramifications than we can think of right now in this podcast. That happened to be corn syrup into soda, which is not as healthy technically as sugar, which sugar isn't even as healthy either, but less healthy and doesn't taste as good either. Makes people less happy. I like buying Coke at Low Tide Coffee Bar because they buy Mexican Coke with actual sugar.
Right.
So that's my response on that. Try to answer your questions at the end of the show. Another one was, and believe it or not, I have no idea why I wrote this here.
What was that? You told me right before the show started, and you wrote it down. I was like, oh yeah, that's good enough. And
yeah.
Now I don't remember what it was.
But I can't say. I guess I could say something else about that. I wrote down New York. New York has some pretty high taxes, and over the last 10 years, as you know, Brian, um, Florida has outpaced New York population-wise to become bigger. So we're now bigger than New York. A lot of them are New Yorkers, and it's not just the cold, because if you look at any other cold state, they're not running in these large numbers as New Yorkers are to come here to Florida. And they're here now in Florida because we have less taxes. Definitely no state income tax. Typically lower taxes, except for maybe property taxes, but sales taxes are lower. And we were able to entice more people to come here to Florida. So these higher taxes in New York did nothing but hurt New York. People came here with their skills. People came here with their businesses, and that ended up helping us more than them. And now we got 2 more seats.
And if you look at Virginia and North Carolina, I'm not sure about South Carolina, but their populations have been increasing as well. So like there is a trend of people moving from the Northeast down.
Yeah, those are government-heavy states.
Right.
Yeah.
So people are moving from the Northeast. They're coming down, and they're trying to leave the high taxes and the high populations and everything down to these lower taxed, lower populated states. And now Florida being more highly populated than New York. We're number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're number 3. So people are moving downward, but they're also bringing the policies with them, which is beginning to cause problems in states like Virginia and North Carolina. And
that's the sad thing. They maintain their culture of the love for the government, which is understandable, but it's like they don't know that's why they left.
Right.
But they should know that's why they left. Africa, because I read an article earlier this week talking about the poverty in Africa, what caused it. And it was talking about how poverty in Africa predates colonialism from the Western world. And it's not just the African countries' love for socialism, and by that word I mean total socialism, not talking democratic socialism, which I still don't agree with. I'm talking actual socialism, where the government controls everything. There's one party running everything. So it's not just their love of socialism. It's funny enough because colonialism psychologically affected Africans so much, they wanted to get rid of anything that was considered Western, which included stuff like free trade, private property, so on and so forth. So, even then, government is still forcing people to act rationally. Another one, which this one I would say have some experience with on a very small individual level when I was in the Army. And I don't like talking about this too much sometimes because people will be like, well, you hate the poor and you want them to die on the side of the road, And Florida Medicaid, Florida's going to be cutting the amount of money going into Medicaid. Here's the thing. When I was, first of all, I'll talk about Canada again afterwards, but, I can talk about Canada first. Canadians and Europeans will typically come here to the United States to get certain procedures done because it's a lot easier to come here and pay for it and get it done. On top of that, when I was in the Army as a medic, and you can ask any medic that's served in any of the branches, when you have free healthcare, there is no responsibility any longer on you to actually be sick when you come in. You can just come.
Right.
I even saw it as a registrar at St. Anthony's Hospital. I'm not saying everybody that uses Medicaid is bad. Of course not. And some of them, do they need it? Yes, they do. But the amount of people I've seen show up into my emergency room with nothing but a bellyache is kind of sad. I'm like, okay, well, you're the reason that healthcare is so expensive because you're coming here, you're filling up a whole bed, and they don't know how many people it takes to take care of a sick person in a hospital, especially when they come into the emergency room. You come into the emergency room, you have the registrar, you have patient care tech that does their vitals, you have another registrar that finishes up their in-hospital paperwork, you have the nurse, you have the doctor, and then if they need x-rays, they'll get the x-rays, so on and so forth, for a bellyache. And they have Medicaid.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, you have no responsibility to pay for it, so you're going to use it, you know? You want to get out of, whether, I was going to say, if you want to get out of work, sure, go to the hospital. Or not, it doesn't matter. Instead of going out of their way to try to help themselves now, they're just going to go to the emergency room to try to take care of their bellyache. Yeah, it sucks having a bellyache. I'm not saying, not belittling that, but it puts a strain on the whole system when now you have so many people come in so many times for things that they could have done at an urgent care center, family practice doctor, so on and so forth. But government typically does force people to act irrationally in the market. Chocolate-covered pickles. Let's say some guy,
I would try them.
a congressman has chocolate factories and pickle making factories in his area, and he wants to help him out, or they ask him to help him out, so he comes up with the idea of combining both for whatever reason. And he puts it forth on Congress, sells it. Now it's whatchamacallit. So now the government's subsidizing it. What happens? I don't want to drag this out too long. Once the government starts subsidizing this idea of chocolate covered pickles, now everyone's going to start being like, well, hey, there's a lot of money now going in this industry. I'm going to start making chocolate. I'm going to start making pickles. I'm going to open a store to do it. And that just starts altering the market, and now more resources of pickles start going to the people that are in chocolate than in my mouth, which is not the best thing ever, because they should be in my mouth instead of being covered by pickles. Don't look at me like that. Wally, shots fired.
Oh, that's from a while ago.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my whole argument at the end of the day, is government doesn't really help anybody when it comes to them interfering with the market the way they do. Whether it's them providing a free something, or them providing a tariff, or them doing whatever. I have still yet to see any good way that the government has actually helped somebody with their interference. If anything, it always ends up getting worse.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. All right, well, that pretty much does it for today. If you all wouldn't mind sharing this video, or you can find our SoundCloud, just the audio of this. If you wouldn't mind sharing that would be awesome as well. We'll have that out to you in probably about an hour. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom, on Instagram at instagram.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom, or on Twitter at Muddied_Waters. Or you can just go over and play around on our new website, muddiedwatersoffreedom.com.
And we'll be looking. I've had 2 people send me writing samples. People are interested in writing for us, which is pretty cool. Not something I thought was going to happen. So we'll see how we're going to be going forward with that. It'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll answer the rest of your questions after we do the outro, Brian.
All right, so let's do a bull. Unless we both have some comments. Shows up. Bull.
Bula.
You got anything else?
I don't have anything else. If anybody has any questions, as usual, whether it's economic or political, please economic. Feel free to send us a question. Send privately on our page here, and we'll do our best to answer it. If you have any more, whatchamacallits, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to share. When is our next guest coming on, and who is it?
It is either Steve Edmonds from Hemp for Water or Caleb Franz from No Liberty.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I'm not sure which one's next.
Next week?
Not next week, the week after.
Are any of them open to doing it next week? We'll ask.
I don't
Okay, cool.
Couldn't tell you. I scheduled them for the second week in May and the third week in May. I just don't remember which ones were.
Okay, that's all right. No worries. That's perfect. Okay. Well, all right, guys. Remember where we're going.
We don't need roads.
Sucks because I'm kind of out of it.